Good morning, Tom. What's going on a Tuesday, man?
Well, I'm sitting on my back porch, about to go tend to the garden and reading the newspaper on my tablet. It's a good day.
Not a bad day to start. So we're looking out here at the river right now. It's the fog's gone away, and we got a beautiful view outside. So guess we're both taking in the Arkansas beauty on this Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. That's my kind of a day. I hope you guys are social distancing properly.
We're apart on this table right now, so we're doing our best. Tom, last segment we were discussing the offensive MVP outlook for this upcoming Arkansas football team this season. I think the majority of people would first and foremost point to Rakeem Boyd, but is there someone else on this roster that you think can be the offensive MVP and will be the offensive MVP of this team this year?
Well, if you look at it based on prior performance, I mean, the dialogue, the discussion opens and closes with Boyd, who, with his speed, I mean, you think about the Colorado State game, he had a breakaway touchdown. Kentucky, he opens the game with a breakaway, I think Western Kentucky. And Arkansas hasn't had a back, that has put together multiple TD runs like that in many years. I mean, you think back toward McFadden, and there might have been somebody, an Al Davis or somebody, but that's extraordinary stuff when you can get the hole and then, shrug off a linebacker's tackle, maybe juke a safety or stiff arm a safety and score a touchdown from 74 yards away. Big stuff. But considering how much the ball is touched by the quarterback, I've got to say that Feleipe Franks could come in, and if he's well protected, if he adapts to the scheme nicely and he and the receivers are on the same page, he would have a chance. And then if one of the receivers, and here's the thing, I hope that they spread the ball out very nicely among their top receivers to keep defenses from trying to lock down, say, a Trey Knox or a Traylon Burks or a Mike Woods. But if one of those three up and scores, 8 or 10 receiving touchdowns and puts together a lot of yardage, they would have a chance. But in descending order, I would say Rakeem Boyd, Feleipe Franks, assuming he wins the starting quarterback job as we do, and then maybe one of those top receivers.
Yeah. Tom, it just feels like such a big week for college football, maybe just a big week for just sports in general. Baseball's got some decisions possibly to make. We're going to figure out what's going on with Major League Baseball and then maybe the next 12, 24, 36 hours. Who knows? They're having some issues with positive testing already, just a few days into their resumption of a regular season or the start of a regular season. But presidents and chancellors of the SEC are going to meet virtually in a few days. Just feels like there's a lot on the line this week to me.
It really does. And if you can imprint our perceptions on let's just say March the 15th, you get over the shock of the tournament being canceled. They went from, one day it was going to be the tournament will be played with no fans, and then boom, it's over. No championships. We're at a standstill. If you can imprint our impressions from that moment onto today, I would have thought we are on the downside of this. Football, we're going to be almost full steam heading into football, and that is just not the case. And a lot of the examples that are the hottest examples in the country right now are in the negative side for the SEC presidents and chancellors who are supposed to meet on Thursday, and I suppose at that point give best recommendations for courses of action. And it may be, okay, we're going to wait one more week before we say what we're going to do. I don't know what their ultimate decision will be, but all the current data just does not look well. And then you look on page 2 of our paper today, Thomas Boswell, a long-time columnist in Washington, is basically saying we need to shut this whole thing down. I think a lot of it depends on how many positive tests, what type of outbreaks we can basically tolerate, because it looks to me like MLB is saying, okay, the Marlins, you guys tested positive up in Philly. We're gonna postpone the games for a couple days, test everybody, see if we can get you back to Miami, and maybe by Wednesday they're playing ball, which is a little bit eye-opening. But I'm thinking at this point that they've got to be thinking about starting a little bit later and trying to play conference only +1 or conference only +2 in the SEC's case, and just see if they can squeeze in as much as they can and hope for the best on the outbreaks. I mean, it just seems like there's no way you can avoid having some type of flare-ups if baseball, which does not have the close contact, is having them. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I know we're going to get to visit again Thursday, maybe, and kind of get our last impressions maybe before we possibly hear something at the end of the week ahead of this meeting. There doesn't seem to be hard deadlines today, but maybe the one deadline that I've got in my mind that's looming, and I'm basing this just on what Hunter Yurachek said to us on the I guess the last Zoom call is, and one impression he made on me is these players don't want to start camp and go through a few weeks of practices and lay it on the line.
Don't make us go through.
Don't make us go through camps, and don't make us go through the heat and the work and put it on the line to take our season away from us. And that kind of stuck with me, Tom. And I think that probably resonates with Hunter. I don't know where it sits with the other 13 ADs. I don't know if that's going to resonate with chancellors like Joseph Steinmetz and his counterparts around the SEC. But to me, that feels like somewhat of at least an artificial deadline that, hey, we're not going to start, full on camp and let them put pads on and start having real physical contact until we make a decision about whether or not we're really going to go forward with the season. Now, I may be wrong about that, but that's just kind of my gut feeling is we're going to make a decision about the start of a season before we start practice, for true, genuine practice.
Right, that's what you think. And I think you're right. It did make a big impression on Hunter Yurachek to the point that he passed it along to us.
Right.
That, hey, this is what the players are telling me. Mm-hmm. Don't make us go through that grueling heat. This camp is tough, and it is, man. When I played high school football, which is not near the intensity that you go through in college, I remember just being in a blur during training camp. When it was true 2-a-days back then, and you're just getting through it. And you're almost like a zombie. You're focusing a lot on learning the plays and all that, but the physical conditioning part of it. You're sweating out you're losing pounds and sweating out all kind of, impurities from your body and all, and then doing it again the next day. So it's tough. But I think it would be next Friday that camps would start. And I'm not sure of the date, but somewhere around August the 7th, maybe for the Razorbacks.
Right.
And you would not want to get cranked up and get going. You're right, if they feel like they're not going to really play football. But what my hope is that they feel like they are going to play football. Maybe they can, spread camp a little bit and say, look, we're going to start in late September, and just try to do the best they can with it. I mean, there was positive news yesterday in that they're going to start clinical testing of a vaccine. So if there's positive results from that, maybe we can turn the corner quickly. It's just that the numbers just have not dropped like maybe we all expected they would. Yeah. And we seem to be maybe just coming over the peak and heading on the downhill, but we don't really know that.
So, but isn't there maybe some merit in the thought or the idea that getting through camp and getting a team to at least internally survive in the right word, but go through a few weeks of practice and their numbers stay in check and not having positives and the metrics of containing coronavirus, being able to do that is one of the boxes you need to be able to check before you can even really entertain moving forward with games and the travel and the things that we're seeing Major League Baseball having to deal with right now. That just being able to, because what we still don't know is the physical interaction, the physical competitive play that football has that other sports don't. We don't know how that's going to maybe create problems that we just don't have the answers to yet. Isn't camp maybe part of being able to answer some of those questions that we've got questions about but no answers to yet?
Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, that's where the players are just going to have to,
I know you don't want to test. I know you don't want to run tests on players, but I mean, honestly, if you can't clear those hurdles, you probably can't move forward to a season, and we got to clear some of these hurdles.
Exactly. And that's the thing is the players, they don't want to have to go through camp and not play, but you can't get ready for a season otherwise. And there's still doubt and there's still issues. So they might just have to suck it up and do the best they can in camp and then end up having an altered season or something like that. Or you could start a season and then flare up the curve and then it's not tenable. So they're just going to have to it's a rough year on everybody. And they're just going to have to be part of it. I saw something last night, on a Chicago Bears video of how they enter their building, and it's amazing. They have like no touch. They come up and show a card that gets them in the building. Then they walk straight up to a scanner that takes their temp. If they're running any kind of temperature, they don't go in the building, proper. And there's so many touchless things. And then I saw other video. I'm not sure what team it was. But their dudes were walking up. They were wearing masks, but they were putting their hand on the door handle and opening up and going in. And I'm thinking, wow, the Bears got ahead of the curve on that deal. So I'd like to think that there's going to be some innovations that come into play in this that maybe last a while, like the Zoom and video recruiting. We think that's going to stick around. Well, entries into buildings and things like that are probably going to become a little less handsy and because the world is only going to continue to probably evolve different viruses as we go along.
Tom Murphy with us on the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, when someone asks you or someone tweets at you or someone gets at you and they say you don't care about the safety and well-being of kids because you want this college football season to happen or you think it should happen, what is your retort to that?
Well, I'm not one to usually engage a whole lot on Twitter. I certainly don't like to get into big arguments. And I know that guys from the younger generation are, I don't know, maybe a little more open to doing that. So I would think that, and that hasn't happened to me a whole lot. But my position has been out there that I want to try to play a season. And I know that there are a lot of other journalists in the country, Thomas Boswell being one, who have staunchly said there shouldn't be a season, and it's and he was writing about Dusty Baker, 71 years old, already had medical conditions, and he's going to be in a dugout, and other guys who've had conditions. So I get it. This country's built on people being able to speak their minds, and if people are mad at me for say, I hope that we have a season. I'm not the decision maker. I just want to do it for what it means to the country, what it means to, our livelihoods and the fabric of society. The thing that we're not sure about, I guess, is if you get it, I read all this stuff out there. I'm sure you guys do too. How does it affect you? Is there long-term effects? If young guys get it, Clay Travis, for instance, who's out on the West Coast, just writes that it's a minuscule chance of anyone getting, deathly ill or even seriously ill in certain age groups. So I don't know what the real stats are, but I just want to see us try to have a football season.
Yeah, it's and I think the statistic, I was looking this up the other day, and this comes directly from the CDC website, that there's only 100 and something kids, and I say kids, between the age, I think it goes up to 25 that have passed away from the scene. And obviously we don't want to see the loss of life from anyone, but people are, there's such a divide right now, and it comes back to politically. If you think one thing, then people just assume you're on this side, or people think if you're one thing, you're on this side. And I don't think there's any diversity of thought that people allow you to have. They say, well, if you think this, then you have to be this, or you think this. And I feel like, this is the United States of America, Tom. Like, we are allowed to have differing political opinions and not have to agree with 100% on one side or not have to agree for the other. And when it comes to this college football season, this is not a black and white issue. This is an issue that we have never faced before, not only as a country, but as a world. And for people just to assume that the answer should be right in front of us, or you absolutely should do this or absolutely do that, I can't get on board with that one way or another on either side, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there should be differing opinions, and but if you took a poll of the college football players, you're in the mid 90s or high 90s of the guys who want to play.
Yeah.
So that has to be taken into account as well. But obviously, what the presidents and chancellors of the SEC and the top administrators and other conferences are going to have to deal with is how can we safely get through this season? What do we do in the case of an outbreak? What's our optimal number of games? What's our optimal operating a football game situation? How many fans are we going to allow? There's so many factors. I was talking to somebody yesterday that they can have meetings all on a Friday, and here's how we're pointing into next week, and then come in Monday, and so many factors have changed that they have to go back to point 2 in their original plan and rework that. And we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with how we're going to cover sports. So to think that you're in the middle of it and trying to deal with all the plans and contingencies, it's really tough. And in the meantime, you do have sports media and you have fans, everybody pounding you with their opinions and stuff. So that's what makes America America. We all have our voices.
All right, since you don't have an answer about what we're going to do with college football, let me ask you a question to get you out of here that I'm sure you've got to know the answer to this one, all right? What's Isaiah Joe going to do on the draft coming up in the next few days?
Wow, it looks to me the trending thought is if he's not working out with his team, that he might be one foot out the door. And I don't know if that's the ultimate answer. I think it's still undecided, but if you were to pin me down, I think he's leaning toward leaving.
Yeah. In the reported number, August 3rd's the deadline to pull your name out. But isn't there a caveat to that with the combine that it's August 3rd or 10 days following the combine? Isn't that the deal? We've been trying to pin this down because August 3rd's the date everyone reports, but the combine follows that, which we were reading this a while back, and we were trying to pin down exactly what it is,
Yeah, it was something about August 3rd or 10 days before you're on the right track there, I believe.
Right.
I think
it's not absolutely August 3rd. There's a caveat with 10 days around the combine.
I think it was whenever they scheduled the combine, whenever that was scheduled, whichever came first. So it's either August 3rd or whenever the combine, or 10 days prior to the combine, whichever one came first, I think was the wording.
All right.
Yeah, so that would mean August 3rd would be the deadline.
Is the deadline? Okay.
I think that's what that would end up meaning. So, here he is. He's on the brink. He's had many months. I know that there's been some delays in the reporting back to them. So, I think the Razorbacks will be okay either way. I think they're still going to have a strong roster. But with Isaiah Joe, with the score of that deadly of a shooter, boy, they would be in a different stratosphere if they had him back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely different ball club, that is for sure. Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, we'll catch up with you on Thursday, man.
Sounds good. See y'all.